Cristina from Brazil.
Good night. Good night, everyone. So in relation to Brazil, I don't know if all of you may know, but Brazil is the fifth largest territory in the world. We have 8.5 million square kilometers. We are also the fifth largest population in the world with 200 million people. So as James was telling, in one hand, you know, one of the reasons to put your product or service in Brazil because we do have a lot of buyers. And I don't know if you are aware of, but I think it was the second year in a row that Brazil is the country that more spend money in U.S. market, unless if you're gonna discount only U.S. market. So if you're gonna count all foreign countries, we are the buyers. So probably we like your stuff, so probably it's a good idea to put your own goods there because we really like and we really travel a lot to here. So this is something that we can count as a good point for Brazil. As also, I don't know if all of you may know, but Brazil is the largest economy in Latin America, not only because we are the biggest country, but also because of the population and the level of the economy. We also have oil reserves, so can't let us quite establish. We almost have our own oil to our own consumers, so this means that we don't need to import that much. Our main product areas in Brazil, the first one might be agricultural, the second one industry, and the third one is service. So, and our big trade partners, even though to import or to export, the two main countries are US and China. So even though we can see from the Brazilian market that a lot of people come here and doing this, but even for the trades, US appear in the first one, the second spot always. So we do have a quite big relationship. In relation to IP in general, Brazil is any other country. We protect trademarks, patents, utility models, designs, trade secret, software, copyright, everything. In relation to software, we have two kinds of protection. We can protect as a patent if it's embodied in the equipment, not the software itself. But we can also protect the software as the codes, as just the software. As Corey was telling, we have some issues with translation because sometimes may arise in cost. Everything must be filed in Portuguese in Brazil. Of course, that we have quite a short deadline. We can file in English and then we have a deadline to translate, but the examiner just speaks Portuguese and all the decisions are in Portuguese, everything is in Portuguese. As James also was saying, we had some problems in the past also to be on development and all this that maybe for enforcement, it was not that good. Nowadays, we do have very good enforcements. A lot of lawsuits are raised in Rio and São Paulo for many reasons. Actually, in Rio, we don't have many industry, even though it's so famous and so beautiful. But the Brazilian PTO headquarters is in Rio. So when you need to do a lawsuit and you need to invite them to get their opinion, so the lawsuit need to be based there. So in Rio, one good thing as well, because we have specific courts that just deal with IP, they just have IP lawsuits. So generally the decisions are very good because the judges really know the subject and they really decide with the knowledge of the matter. So this is something that arises in a good point. And when he was telling, when we have the enforcement, you have a reason to protect the right. If not, you're just going to spend money, maybe you're not going to give the return. Other thing that I think it's important to mention that I just took note when our colleague from SPTO was telling that in Brazil we do have a lot of industry, a lot of company goes there because as we may know, we also have a lot of poor people. Our labor law is quite complicated as a local, but it's very easy to hire people with low salary. So this is one reason also that a lot of companies decide to build their own industry in Brazil, because we do have a lot of people that they don't have work. So you easily can get them to be part of the industry. So this is one reason that also helps Brazil also to develop in this way. Another thing that I took note while David was selling, that we don't have a state trademark, it's only national trademark. Once you apply for a trademark in Brazil, it covers the entire country. We also have we assign signature from the NIS classification, so we also have all the products and service classes as all over the world, so this is not going to make a lot of difference. And one thing that we realized that is important to protect also in Brazil, and a lot of reasons that the company goes there is because of the size of the consumer, so it's easily sell in the market quicker than a lot of people imagine because of the number of members in the country. And as we are talking that a lot of times it's more fun to listen some history from clients and this kind of stuff. So like for example, now we just had the World Cup, we represent FIFA in Brazil. So sometimes even we didn't realize how many kinds of protection we may have. But for example, when you have the first presentation and the fine, you have all the scene on the back. So these are all protected under copyright law. All the name of the program or the event itself, it's a brand, and then you can protect as a trademark in many different ways. You know, you can have word, composite, and design trademarks. So it's different approach. We may have some other issues, you know, like why it's happening in the World Cup when somebody use to try to get an advantage in the commerce, and then we need to stop them with that. So you have cease and desist letter, or again, lawsuits and so on. So it's another kind of situation that we may raise depending on the client, but that does not depend the size of the client, because nowadays with internet and everything, it's easily you can see your IP rights copied by any other chain. So actually in Brazil, this ladder works really properly. It's very cheap service. And I don't know, you know, maybe for cultural reasons, they are really afraid when they receive some formal like that. So generally they stop. You don't really need to enter in an action more complicated and more costly for the client and so on. So this really works very well. In the patent side, as I said, we protect all the kinds. One thing that is quite interesting is because we do protect utility models, that you have like an extension of the real patent, as here we just do the real inventions patent. And one thing that we always joke that as Canada is stopping the use and getting to our system that is the same as Europe, US also in patent is not accepting mais when you do an invention without filing. I hope in the future you'll all be the first to file. Probably you'll finish with this use requirement, probably only after you have the registration, at least to keep in force, but not the need to use before. So we are a civil law country, so we do have few countries that are still doing like this, but I think that we are all going to our way. At least we did not change this. At least in IP, we are good. So I'm run out of my time, so if you need to ask me anything later on, I'm happy to answer. Thank you.